Welcome back, guys. I'm about to teach you about the law of sine and the law of cosine. Now, I learned this in 20 minutes, but I'm about to teach you in 5 minutes. How does that work? I don't know. We're going to find out. Anyways, what is the law of sine and what is the law of cosine? Well, if we look right here, basically the general gist of it, the law of sine states if A, B, C, capital, as you see right there, are measurements of the angles of an oblique triangle, and A, B, C, lowercase, are all the lengths of the sides opposite of the corresponding angles, then the ratios of the A side's length to the sine of the angle opposite the side must all be the same. I know there's a lot to take in, but we're going to go through some examples. It'll make a lot more sense at the end. Now, the law of cosine. We see right here, if you look at the front of the law of cosine, you see there's a little familiar face. We got A squared equals B squared plus C squared. Classic. Now, how does this all look to our simple eyeballs? Well, here in the background information right there, you can see it all. The capital A, B, and C, they all refer to the angles of the inner triangle. Now you got to remember, all inner angles of the triangle, they need to sum up to 180 degrees, no matter what. Looking at the lowercase letters A, B, and C, we can see that this refers to the sides of an angle. They can equal whatever they want to equal. Now, how exactly do we tell the difference between a cosine and a sine? Well, simple. If we look here in the cosine section, we can see it all. If the triangle only has the sides labeled, such as this one right here, the side, that equals a cosine. You're dealing with the cosine equation. Now we move over to the next one, we can see that it has a side, an angle, and a side. Notice specifically that the angle is sandwiched between the two sides. Side, angle, side. Now, with that, we know that we're dealing with the cosine. Kind of vice versa with the sine right here. We got the angle, side, angle. Notice how the side is sandwiched between the two angles? We're dealing with the sine now. Another way we can tell the difference is if we have a side, and one angle. We can tell that the angle is all the way to the right, so we're dealing with the sine. Now, finally, the final way we can tell it's a sine is if it has two angles, angle, and side. When trying to figure out whether or not you're dealing with the cosine or a sine, you need to remember, you must read it from left to right, always, no matter what, or else you're going to get tripped up and you might think it's a sine when it's really a cosine. How do we solve using the law of sine equation? Look at the example right here. We have angle C equals 81 degrees and angle A equals 38 degrees. We need to remember all inner angles of a triangle, they must sum up to 180 degrees. So with this information, we simply add 81 plus 38 plus B equals 180 degree. What do we get after solving them? We get angle B equals 61. Alright, cool. Now we simply just plug it into the equation. Since we're trying to find side A, we're not going to be using C over sine C. We're only going to be dealing with the A and B part of it. So let's begin. Plugging it in, we get sine 61 over 23 equals sine 38 over A. Looking at it, we need to get A by itself. So what do? Well, we multiply sine 61 to both sides, and we multiply A to both sides as well. In the end, once we cross out and cancel out, we get A equals 23 sine 38 over sine 61. Simplifying it a bit further, we get A equals 23 parentheses 0.615 over 8.874. Simplifying it once more, we finally get the answer we've been looking for. A equals 16.2. Ladies and gentlemen, we have found side A. Side A equals 60.2. Finally, we will learn how to use the cosine equation to find C. In this example, we know it's a cosine because we have a side, an angle, and a side. Remember, folks, side, angle, side equals cosine. Now, how exactly do we do this? We can't really subtract anything to get 180 since the only angle that we have is 118. No other angles are given. But we do have two sides. And what do we do with this? Well, if we look back at the law of cosine equation, we can see it all. we see a squared equals b squared plus c squared, remember Pythagorean theorem, minus 2bc cos a. So what do we do with this? Simple. Plug in all the values that we have right now into the equation and we solve. Plugging in the first batch, we get c squared equals 18 squared plus 21 squared minus 2 times 18 times 21 cos 118. Simplifying it further down, we get c squared equals 324 plus 441 minus 756, parentheses cosine minus 0.46. Once again, we simplify, we get c squared equals 765 plus 347.76. Once again, c squared equals 1112.76. Now we need to get rid of the square. So we square root both sides to finally get the answer. C equals 33.35. Ladies and gentlemen, we have found the side of C. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys learned something, and goodbye.